Yo, it's X, and welcome to What's Out Media Group. This is our first podcast of 2023. Corey, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, doing good.
And today we have a TikTok star today. We've got she's a social media content creator. She's a marketer. She's an actor. You might know her as an almond mom. She's pretty cool. Tyler, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on and for the amazing introduction. I appreciate it. That was good. That was good. I wish you'd introduce me for everything.
Well, without a doubt. Well, we're gonna let that come through during the podcast. So Tyler, we really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us some time for today. So Tyler, where are you from? And how'd you grow up?
Yeah, well, I'm from the Salt Lake area of Utah, so a lot of my content is actually about that. Yeah, just a lot of my TikToks, as you might guess, are kind of like inspired by how I grew up. I grew up in the Utah area, so a lot of my content is about like kind of how kooky it is to grow up in Utah. I grew up doing theater, and that comes through in a lot of my content as well. I make a lot of jokes about theater kids, the acting industry, stuff like that. And yeah, I just grew up, had a pretty normal childhood, was always interested in arts and acting. Had a little bit of a smaller personality, but I really loved doing arts and theater and stuff like that because it was a chance I had to be a little bit bigger, have a little bit more of a voice, be able to be myself a little bit more. So that I've always had an interest in arts and performing and stuff like that.
So when did that, do you have a solid age there, or was it just always there?
I feel like where I grew up, everybody was just like in dance. Like the second you're old enough to walk, it's like, okay, you're in dance. I suck at dancing. I have 2 left feet. So I always grew up, everybody always grew up performing. In Utah, it's very part of the culture that you have to have a talent or a skill, which is amazing. So there are so many talented people. So it was pretty common to just like be a performer or be involved in something. So I was always involved in it. I would say I really fell in love with like theater itself when I was in middle school, because we just had like a really good program after school and I just got super obsessed with it. Then I did theater and acting throughout high school. I actually went on to college for a BFA degree at a conservatory program for musical theater acting, but I dropped out. So now I make TikToks.
We'll definitely get to that. That's a pretty interesting story. We got a lot of people who thought that they were on this path, and then they're like, yo, we're gonna switch, and they found a new avenue. So middle school, do you remember any like big plays or any roles or anything like that that got you really excited about, acting?
Oh, totally. I feel like I'm a competitive girl. And for some reason, the program at my middle school, it was freaking cutthroat, but I loved it because of that. So I remember like my first year getting in and like not getting the part I wanted and being so upset, but it really encouraged me to like study up. Like I remember after not getting the part I wanted, I was so mad, but I really like cracked down and I started taking lessons and everything I could. I started like going early, staying late, like really getting on the grind, studying books, studying movies and musicals, and like doing everything I could. So really that first year of being mad that I didn't get what I wanted, being a little bit of a diva, really helped me to actually hone in on a skill. And then the next year I was able to get the lead part when I was in 8th grade, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is what I love so much. And it's great. I remember it was just such a great group of kids. It was such like a lot of people find that it's a really safe community. It's a really fun group of people, super accepting. It's a really good outlet. It was a good way to spend like 4 hours of my evening every evening. So that ended up just being an amazing experience. And I was like, I have to keep on doing this forever. Maybe I'm good at this. I want to do it for as long as I can. I remember my Spanish teacher came to see it and was like crying, and she was like, you have to be an actor. And I was like, whoa, okay. So people think I'm good at it and I love it. This is awesome. So after that 8th grade musical, I was like hooked for life.
And that's perfect. I was just going to ask, were there any instructors? Maybe, it could be the whoever was running the theater or anybody else within the school. And, you know, you just mentioned your Spanish teacher that was like, yo, yeah, you really got a knack for this. You should really try it out. So that's really cool to hear. Any other, you know, influences in that realm, like a teacher or, you know, some people have coaches, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I had a lot of people that were so supportive and like, Tyler, you're amazing at this. You need to keep going. Like I had a fantastic, like, I was so lucky. I was so lucky. I was able to have a voice coach who was just so incredibly supportive and so constructive and kind. And like, they were really good supporters. But on the other end, I had a lot of people that were like, dude, you suck at this. You're so bad. You got to work harder if you want to
You're
go
always gonna
anywhere.
get
But
those.
I think those are also helpful because like, I remember at one point I had somebody come up to me and be like, you suck at dancing so bad that you will never make it in this industry. So that pushed me though, that lit a fire under my bum because I remember at like 14 years old, I signed my ass up for ballet class and I was in a ballet class with 8-year-olds as a 14-year-old. And so it's stuff like that that really gives you grit when you have somebody tell you that you just like suck or they tell you you're not good enough or that you need to hustle harder. And so I'm almost equally grateful for the people that were like not as kind as I am for the people who are like, Tyler, you're amazing. You have to keep doing this. Like you really have something going here. So yeah,
Feel that. Yeah, you got to start
Yes.
ballet young. You can't start at 14. You got to start
I
at 7.
know.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's why I make TikToks and I'm not on Broadway. So
Yeah, you're always going to have those haters either way. But I was just wondering, with these years of experience and skills in theater and acting, how is that translating now to your life? Obviously, with the TikToks, I know you love to play characters on that, but you could talk about that too. How else does that play in your life?
yeah, outside of TikTok, it's really helped me have a lot more confidence because a lot of people in that industry are just so unapologetically themselves. And I like all the time struggle with like, oh, like showing up without having like kind of like a barrier, you know, like you want to be like protect yourself and not be fully yourself. But when you're in a room with 30 people that have the biggest personalities you've ever seen, that have the loudest voices, who are the weirdest people you've ever seen, who like literally don't care, that is so good for personal growth because after you deal with that, you're like, wow, nothing matters and nobody cares. If it like it really helps you to come out of your shell just because like another along with that. I remember in my conservatory program, even to be heard, I felt like I had to scream because there's so much big personalities going on that like just to like get a second of attention, you have to be like for me, it felt like I was like standing on top of a building, screaming at the top of my lungs just to get noticed. So that really pushed me to be a little bit less scared and a little bit more myself in a normal environment where I'm not like fighting to like even be heard. So that's been helpful for personal confidence and growth. Learning how to always be hustling is amazing because I was interested in that since I was like 12. So I've known like work ethic. It really trains you to have good work ethic because I was working with adults the whole time I was performing. So it taught me to have like a crazy sense of professionalism from a super young age. So that's been very helpful through my career. Also, as an actor, you have to market yourself. And now I have a career in marketing. So
Right.
that was a really great thing. And now I can take those skills that I've been honing in on for 10 years and it's translated into my career and it's worked wonders there. And then, of course, as far as TikTok, 10 out of 10. I mean, every day I'm acting, I'm writing, I'm coming up with new ways to deliver the same character 20 times in a row. So, I mean, I'm super grateful for the experiences I've had, and it helps me way more than you'd think in your everyday.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's dissect it real quick. I just want to know,
Yeah.
how do you get from being middle school theater to get into a conservatorship? How did that work? How did that work out? Like through high school? Did you do other plays like outside of school? Like how did that work?
Yeah. Well, luckily, growing up in Utah, theater is a super big thing. We have a super great support for the arts and everything. So I was able to do shows at my school. And then after school, like every single month I would be auditioning I would go on like Google and be like Utah auditions, Utah theater auditions, places to go do auditions. I was obsessed. Like, and then I'd make my dad drive me to an hour away to some random like community theater, regional theater, semi-pro theater. And I would go audition for these plays. And then eventually after enough auditions, I would book one. I would get to spend the next 3-4 months performing that show, and then rinse and repeat over and over again through my whole time through middle school and high school. And I got some crazy good experiences. I was able to do shows in Park City. I was able to earn money doing shows, which was crazy as like a 14-year-old. I was able to get a talent agent and do a little tiny, teeny bit of like film and commercial and modeling. And so I got a really, really good experience with every single side of the industry in like a teeny tiny way. And I was able to get a taste for what I liked and what I didn't like. And then as far as getting into my college programs are really intense. Basically you have to spend like 2 years auditioning for colleges and creating material and doing all this crazy nonsense. I didn't really have the money to go do that, because it's a super intense thing. You have to fly out to Chicago, New York, California, and go do auditions for like a week. We didn't have the money to fly out and pay to live in a city for a week, and you have to pay to audition for every single school. We didn't have the money to do that. So I said, I have to go to a school in state. So I auditioned for all the in-state schools, and luckily I was able to get into all of them. So I had my pick. Oh shoot, sorry, my notifications are on. Anyway, luckily I was able to pick the school that I wanted to go to, and had a really good year and a half, and then kind of fell out of love with the program and dropped out and decided to do my own thing.
Word. And how long were you there in college?
Let's see, I did my freshman year, and then I'm trying to think, isn't that crazy? It was not that long ago, and I can't even remember if I did 2.5 years or a year and a half. I think I just did a year and a half. Yeah, I just did a year and a half.
So when did you know, like, exactly, like, this is not really like, because, a lot of times we know when you're like, yeah, this is not really fitting, but we give it some more time just to give it, its, what is due. But like, yeah, how long until you were like, yeah, I don't know about this?
Okay, so the first year was during COVID, and I thought it was really weird. But I did have like a lot of personal growth. I had a lot of good experiences, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm motivated. This is great. Came back year 2, we were in person. But I think a lot of people were on edge because we were in person, but it was still COVID. So there were like a lot of protocols, and I was like, okay, this is like really stressful. Being in person was like a little bit more of the real experience of what it would be like. So I remember like 2 weeks in, I was like, what am I doing? I hate it here. And I was like, crap. I've already spent a year on this degree. I'm coming back and I'm almost to the halfway mark. Like, what on earth am I doing here? So I remember 2 weeks into my 3rd semester in this program, I was already doubting it. So I kind of spent the rest of the semester feeling out exactly how I felt about it. But I was like, you know what? Maybe I still want to be a performer, but I don't think this is the route I want to take.
Right.
And you said that the first little bit you weren't too sure if that was the right decision. When did it click to you that this was right for you?
I just was able to talk to some really good people who are also in the industry, and I was like, this is how I feel about the program. This is how it's going. And they were like, you know what? That's so much time and money and effort to spend. If you don't feel 100% confident about it, you can and will find another way to get what you want, or learn what you want, or figure out how to get there. So I think it was just talking to mentors. And if I'm being completely honest, I called my counselor and I said to them, hey, if I change my majors, when can I graduate? And it was like a year and a half earlier. And I was like, done.
Yeah, that's great. So what was your first steps out of there? What were you thinking of? How do I shift my my skills and talent into something else? What was your first steps to that?
Luckily, the whole time I spent my first year as a theater major, like I said. I also was broke, and the schedule we had was ridiculous. So I go, oh crap, I need a job. but I'm like, what is the most flexible job? In my experience, the most flexible jobs I ever had been internships. I was like, I need a job. I need a job that's flexible. I'm getting an internship. So I was like, the only thing I'm good at outside of acting is like social media. So I just got on LinkedIn, grinded, got a social media internship. And luckily I had done that all throughout my first semester. Well, my first year of college. So when I was ready to switch, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go into marketing and take my social media experience. So it was a really great transition. And right after I graduated, I was able to get a job in marketing, and it's been a really good experience. So that is kind of a lucky thing. Just kind of ended up here by a little bit of luck.
Yeah, that's great. And I just have to mention, I was laughing in my head earlier because when you mentioned internships, I remember you have a TikTok about someone who, I think it was someone who had their first internship or never knew what an internship was. I think it was. That's what like I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the rich friend TikTok?
Maybe, yeah. I just remember it was someone who just did not know what an internship was,
Yeah.
and they got it for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. When you find out you have to work for way cheap. Ah.
So what got you into what got you into social media? What, all of us our age, we all love social media, but what was like, I think this is one of my strong suits.
Yeah. Well, I think I was 14 when I signed with my talent agency, kind of a wash, you know how it is. And my agent was like, part of your contract, you have to be super active on social media. So like, okay, started doing it. And I realized like, the more I got seen on social media, the more jobs I would book and the less I had to work at my shitty job. So even at like 15, 16, I was like, okay, the more jobs I book, the less I have to work at this goddamn soda shop. So I'm going to post as much as I can. I'm going to learn all the strategies behind it. I got internships just to learn how to be better at social media. Like I was doing everything I could to get better at it. So it was like, it's literally a perfect intersection of two skills. Like I'm so grateful that agent had that really weird clause so that I could learn social media so I could be where I am today.
And this worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Question. We don't interview a lot of people from the West Coast. We interview some people, but we want to know, what is Utah like? So for our viewers can know, well, how would you describe Utah? You got a whole series based on people from Utah. How would you describe it? You as a fellow Utahian, is that the correct term? All we know about is what is it? It's
Utahn. It's Utahn. So it's a really gross tasting word. I hate it.
Sounds so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you describe Utah?
Utah. All right. Well, I just moved to Denver, and I think it's similar to Denver, but a lot smaller. Like everybody says like, oh, the city of Denver is kind of similar to the city Salt Lake. I'm like, no. Salt Lake City feels like a suburb compared to this. So it's very suburban. It's very beautiful. It's so gorgeous. I mean, down south, you've got beautiful Red Rock, lots of like hiking, lots of national parks. North, where I live, it's you get all 4 seasons. I'm like giving you a weather report. This isn't what you're here for. Let's be real. But I think I can guess what you're all thinking. Here's the culture. Just about everybody is LDS Mormon, but they prefer to be called LDS these days. Just about. So that's where the soda comes in. That's what a lot of my content used to be about, was that in Utah, LDS people aren't allowed to drink coffee. So instead they got addicted to soda. So instead of like Starbucks on the street, we have these soda shops. So that's another really interesting thing. Another cultural thing is that everybody gets married really young. And has babies really young and has a lot of babies. Those are some cultural things. I'm trying to think of anything else that really stands out about Utah. But honestly, I like it. I don't necessarily fit in with culture. I don't like the culture, but I don't know. The Salt Lake City is a little bit different than the rest of Utah. So I miss that part about it. I miss Salt Lake City, not the rest of it. The rest of it is whack.
I feel that. Me and Corey are both from Ohio, and Ohio's a huge meme now, but Ohio's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. So it was just interesting to hear, your side from
only
Utah.
in Ohio.
Yeah. when I was in college, I would just do this just to kind of gross out my friends. But I didn't think it was a legit thing till it got popular on TikTok. But I'd get some Pepsi after a workout. I'd grab some Pepsi and then I'd put a little bit of coffee creamer in there, and they'd be like, "That's disgusting." And I'd be like, "Yo, this is like a root beer float. Like, what are you talking about? Like, chill out." But I did not know that was a thing. And like looking
No,
at
it
your
was.
content, yeah, like tell us about that. What could you give us a
Yeah.
little, like, I don't know, 5 minutes on it? We won't spend too much time on it, but
Yes, I would love to, because I think that's like one of the first times I like blew up on TikTok was talking about it. So I owe a little bit to the Sodies. So that was one of my first jobs, was working in one of those Utah soda shops, and it was actually super fun. Like, I feel like that's the job you got if you were popular for some reason. So I wasn't, but I was like, I gotta get this job. Everybody's so cool who has this job. And it's so disgusting. It is disgusting. I remember the floors were so sticky, you had to have soda shop shoes, because like it was like Squidward. It was like
yeah.
you mop every night. We mopped every single night. And still every day it was like
Mm.
your feet just peeling off. It's disgusting. And there's this giant bar, like it's a bar table, but all along it is like probably 200 different syrup flavorings with little pumps. And so you get your like, and people like every day would come in, you had the regs, and like most people are regulars. I'm so serious right now. Just like Starbucks, you have your regulars here, you have your regulars. People will come in, order their 64 ounce. I'm so dead serious right now. Their
Ooh.
64-ounce drink, and you get this giant cup, you fill it up with the ice, and it's always very crowded too. So you have to like be super fast. You get your super giant cup, you fill it up with the ice. Then I remember you would get the soda. Some had puree in it. That's another gross thing. Like it was literally like jam. You're putting jam, coffee creamer, whipped cream, and
Just
syrup
everything.
in a Coke. Shocking. It was disgusting.
Yikes. Oh my goodness.
Like that's something my
Diabetes
parents
with
would be
Coke.
mad at me making.
Yeah. So it was fun to work there because, you're just like making like little fun things, but it was very disgusting. I remember like the worst thing on the menu that made me cringe so hard were the kids' drinks, because it would be like for a little kid, and then you'd, on top of doing like the creamer and the soda and this whipped cream, you would do like sprinkles and candy on top. And I'm like, I feel like I'm contributing to something very horrible. And then the worst was like we had concessions too. So it's like, and a cookie on the side. So it was disgusting. And you had people that were like so addicted. Like it would be like 7 a.m. before the store opens, and there's like women outside the window like, when are you opening? I need to get to, well, they didn't work. A lot of people in Utah are stay-at-home moms, so they'd just be like, I need to take my kids to school. Come on. It was so funny. Oh, that was such a fun job. And I'm so glad like the recipes aren't here. So now I am like, I can whip you up something really great.
Okay, now I saw you whip up this one with Monster and just a whole bunch of other shit. It was horrible, man. I was like, no way is people drinking this.
Yes, the Monster drinks were huge. Yeah, because if you can't have coffee, sometimes
True,
you
true,
need
I
that
get it.
little boost. And
I get it, I get it.
But it's
I-
actually so nightmarish though. Like I was judgmental about the Coke drinks, but I'm way more judgmental about the Monster drinks. After I stopped, this is a funny story too. So I stopped working there, and I had a friend who still worked there like a couple years later, and this was like probably like early 2020, like early. And so we made a TikTok, like before I blew up, before anything, like just a regular kid making TikToks. And we made a TikTok that was like, what your soda shop drink means about you. And they fired my friend and threatened me to like take
man.
down the video. So I had to take it down. But I thought it was so funny because I was like, if you get a Monster drink, A, you're disgusting. B, I know you pulled up in like the most ridiculous monster truck and you collect the caps on the monsters. And like, I was just like roasting on everybody for their drinks, but I got in so much trouble for that. I felt so bad.
I saw that one too, and I'm like, yeah, yikes. We've actually interviewed a lot of content creators who have gotten their homies in trouble because, they thought they were just, putting up a TikTok or something and turn left. But everything went out. Everything's all good with that. Yeah, everybody's all good from that
Well,
situation.
my friend never worked there again,
That's
but
a blessing, I feel like.
yeah, it was good for her. It was good for her. She needed to move on. No, I'm just kidding. I felt horrible. And
Yeah,
I
for
just
sure.
had to delete the video and like never talk about it again. But then like, of course, 2 years later, I came out with that series where I was like talking about it, and I was very scared. Every time I posted those videos, like where I was like making a dupe of the soda or something, I was like biting my nails. I was like, I hope they don't sue me for this.
For
Mhm.
sure, for sure, for sure.
But I still did it anyway because I'm an idiot. So
So, well, I just want to also add that it's pretty interesting about because I was going to ask you like why is the soda craze in Utah and only in Utah, but now you explained that it was what's the term? What was it?
LDS.
LDS.
Yeah.
LDS. Yeah. Well, that is really funny. Is there any other like well, how about this? What was a culture shock for you outside of Utah? Was
Well,
there
okay,
anything for you?
so I moved to Denver 3 weeks ago, a little over 3 weeks ago. And
Okay.
this is my first time like living outside of Utah, and it's been pretty weird for me, for sure. I think one of the shocks is that there are like bars.
Yeah,
In
for
Utah,
sure.
there are like very few, like there are bars, but they're few and far between. Like really, it's not that common to see a bunch. So that was culture shock. Oh, another one. I recently made a video making fun of this, but I feel like everybody dresses horrible here. No offense. But in Utah, everybody like really goes all out every day. Like the hair's done, the makeup's done, the nails are done. They're wearing like a nice dress, which again is part of like the LDS culture a little bit, and a little bit just part of like a lot of influencers are in Utah. So like there's a lot of societal pressure in Utah. Like it's the boob job capital of the world, if you didn't know.
Oh, I did
Did
not know.
not.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's a lot different because everybody's really granola. So maybe that's more of a Denver culture shock than a Utah culture shock. Oh, also, in Utah, like everybody's LDS. Like you're literally like your classes in high school, like one of them is seminary for LDS people, and
Oh,
like
wow.
almost everybody takes it. And I never did, but almost everybody takes their LDS class in high school. It's like almost like expected of you. And so that's crazy, just to like not constantly be around people who are Mormon. It's really weird.
Now,
Like,
do they tend to
yeah,
stay in Utah like their whole life? Is that kind of like idea?
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, like when I was so lucky to be able to go in to the college I did and be in the program I did, because for some reason they wanted more out of state people. So I think I was like the only Utahn in the one of like 3 or 4 Utahns in the whole program. So it was really nice to meet people from out of state, and that was just really eye-opening for me, because in Utah you usually stay in state for school. You probably like move like a city away from your parents, and it's just like a really, really different culture, you know?
I feel that. Yeah. Question. So after college and everything like that, TikTok, let's talk about marketing. What got you, like we already talked about social media, that being part of your clause and everything like that, but what have you learned being in the professional field of like marketing, and any tips to any content creators or any tips to anybody like that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You could not ask for a better career than marketing if you want to be an influencer, because you get to know, like, I know the industry from both ends of the spectrum. So a lot of brands will come to me to manage their back end, because it's like, okay, well, you get it on your end. Like if we need to work with influencers, you know what to say with that to them, what they're looking for, what kind of content performs on TikTok because you're using it every day yourself. So that's been like a crazy benefit to my career, because like when in history, also on top of this, social media is so good for kind of lowering the barrier to entry for the career field, because like when in history has anybody listened to a 20-year-old woman? Like when have ever has the 20-year-old woman had the best perspective in the room, or like anybody cared what a 20-year-old woman had to say? So it's really been awesome
Right.
that I get this step above. And I mean, obviously that's also because our culture is like in a way better spot. But anyway, So being a TikToker has helped my career like crazy. And then my career has helped my TikTok because I've learned, again, what brands are looking for. I've worked with people who are a lot smarter than me, who tell me like what helps in the algorithm, what how to pitch to brands, how to like optimize a profile, how to run an ad, how to do this and that. And so really it's like the perfect intersection. If you want to be a content creator and you haven't figured it out yet, my advice is go get internships in marketing, go get internships in social media, SEO, even just videography, learn how to make good content. And I swear to you, it will all fall into place.
I feel that. I feel that. I really appreciate it. Actually, Corey and I were just giving you a compliment. We watched one of your Almond Mom sketches, but it was actually an ad for a wine thing. We thought it was perfect. We thought it just fit
Thank
in
you.
right with it. It was, you know, it was on brand with your character, but it also sold the product. I thought it was pretty fire. So shout out to you on that end. Any
Thank
advice
you.
on that end? You know what I'm saying? Any what were your any thought process behind that, I guess?
Like how to do a brand deal that performs.
Yeah. And keep it
Oh my
within
gosh.
your, I guess, and keep it within your, you know, your niche.
Yeah, that is so hard. And even to this day, I struggle with it. Like recently I did a brand deal and I thought I would be able to do it, not in like my normal content, which like I'm an idiot for thinking that. But anyway, and it so flopped. I was like, crap, this sucks so bad. But yeah, it's almost like you have to be the mom sneaking the veggies into like the dinner meal.
It's the macaroni and cheese, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you have to sneak the greens and the mac and cheese. So it is a really fine balance because there are so many rules that the brand puts on you. So one of the things is if the brand is like giving you like a giant decree of like do this, and this, sometimes you just don't work with that brand. Like if a brand gives me a giant laundry list of requirements for the video, I'll say no unless the money is good enough. Then I will say yes.
Right.
You have to make sure it's a product that you feel like resonates with what you're talking about. It has to be a product that you feel like you can promote and be honest about, that the product works. Like I remember when I was really, really early on, like I got this shampoo that was supposed to promote and I tried it before and it was horrible. I paid to ship that back and canceled the deal because I was like, there is no way I'm doing this right now. Your stuff sucks. Sorry, no way.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful about the brands you choose to work with. You have to put real thought into your content. One thing I'm struggling with right now is like, how do I build streams of income that I own that aren't just brand deals? And I've kind of boxed myself in as a comedy creator. It's like, I don't know what I sell. So if you're looking to get into it, think of ways to monetize your platform and think of it early on so that it's easier to implement in the end.
I feel that. So you're not boxed into this, you know, I feel that. You know, I would
Yeah.
say a great example right now, Keith Lee, you know, content creator
Yeah,
who's now being able to, you know, be a vessel and help other small businesses out and stuff like that. I think that is so genuine that you were able to send back that shampoo bottle because it wasn't working, you know, rather than selling it and then your viewers are like, oh damn, like Tyler sold me some bullshit, essentially. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah, you just can't do that because like I feel like the truth always comes out, and especially with TikTok, because people really are not afraid to be honest, to rip you to shreds, to cancel you. And so you
sure.
really gotta like give a shit about your audience and give a shit about your reputation. I on top of trying to be genuine about my brand deals, I try to connect with my audience. I probably live stream like 3 to 5 times a week and
Okay.
just try to touch base. I have a group of people that have notifications on that will tune into every single one and
Wow.
like know like an uncomfortable amount about me. I'm probably a little bit unsafe about it, but I think it's really important to, like they say, community build, whatever. And I never really knew what that meant until I got in a position to community build. I think applicable advice that you can actually use if you want to be an influencer is get to your first 1,000 followers so that you can live stream. And that'll make a huge difference for you. funnel people into your Instagram, because Instagram has a lot of tools that you can use to engage with people. I don't think you should use Instagram to grow a following. I think it's so dead on that front. Fuck Instagram. I hate it. But if you want to engage with people, like stories are a great way, because you can do like questions, you can do Q&As, you can do polls, you can do all sorts of cool tools. And people really love to use those to get to know your followers. Another thing I do is if I notice I have a super loyal follower who's like always commenting, always liking, like I'll follow a lot of them back. I'm following a lot of people, and very few of them are content creators. A lot of them are just random followers that I wanted to say thank you for following me. So I hope that's like some applicable advice for people who want to be content creators.
I feel that. How can you speak on, or how can you testify on your TikTok growth? So you've had times where you've like been spiking, like spike. But you've had times where it's just, even kill, but how do you continue to grow that?
It is, I'll be honest with you, it's so stressful, and it's so hard not to get in your head and be like, oh, I suck, or be like, oh, the algorithm's broken, I'm just going to quit. TikTok's ruined forever, I'm just going to quit. I hate this. So it's really easy to get in your head about it. My tip would be to get a mentor. I have a mentor who's like way bigger than me on TikTok, and I pay him to I pay him to have advice. So every once in a while we'll hop on a meeting. Like, I'm so serious. Like, having a mentor is such a game changer if you're serious about it. Like, pay somebody to have like a half-hour call with you once a month, and it will change the game for you. It will. Another thing is not every video has to be a banger. And I try to remind myself that, like, not every movie that, Spielberg did is a banger. Like, some of them are box office flops. That doesn't mean Spielberg's not the most
Not
amazing.
popping, right? Yeah.
Just because and also sometimes the views doesn't equate the quality of the video, because honestly, like, my favorite Spielberg movie didn't do so well in the box office. So
My
it's like,
favorite is The Terminal, and nobody knows about that. So yeah.
there you go. So you just have to like have those things you tell yourself. And Alex Hormozy says this all the time. He's like, success is doing the obvious thing for a very long amount of time with huge consistency and having support around it. So those are the things I try to tell myself, but it does suck when you're having like an off week or two and you're just banging your head against the wall. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't my followers seeing my stuff? I thought people cared about me. So it's really, really a tough mindset game. And then outside of mindset, sometimes you just have to be real with yourself and be like, you know what? I'm uninspired. I have to take a break or go figure out how to get inspired and get better ideas. Or sometimes the answer is you're being lazy. You better either make more content or figure out how to make better content. So it's a push and pull between being lazy and like taking care of yourself and like trying to focus on mindset. So that's all I have to say on that. It's definitely one I struggle with, because I am totally on roller coaster growth.
Yeah, I feel that. We were talking to Elijah Wallace prior to him blowing up a little bit more than where he was at. And he was like, dude, I'm just putting out TikToks every day. And I'm just seeing what sticks. He's like, I'm growing a following. He was very like, he knew that he was growing a following. And later on, he was able to, he's a musician. So he was able to later on do a few concerts. And I think in San Francisco and a whole bunch of different areas, but that helped boost him up. And now he's kind of at a spot where he just keeps doing his thing day by day. So, don't get discouraged. We understand it. We understand the grind for sure.
It is such a grind. Yeah, that's for sure. It's a lot easier when you figure out one thing that works and you can just commit to doing that same thing over and over again. But you do run the risk of like exhausting your audience on the same bit over and over again. So it's definitely a tough thing.
And I would say, like, for you as a content creator, you got different characters. It's not like you're like stuck in this. You got popular ones, but you got some ones that are like hilarious. And you know what I'm saying? So
thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of strategic to try and avoid burnout. Like, Almond Mom is by far the most viral thing I do. But if I did that every day, I would probably start losing followers in 3 months and be done. So I try to only do that like less, like maybe every other week, maybe once a week, depending. So yeah.
So I can only assume that the Almond Mom comes from real experiences. Do you have like a best friend who has an Almond Mom, or is your mom an Almond Mom?
Yeah. So, you know what's crazy? This has become like national news. I've been interviewed by like Good Morning America, NBC,
Oh
a
man.
ton of publications about this because all of a sudden it's like some sort of like social experiment kind of thing, like social commentary craziness. So I've been asked this a lot of times and I feel like I have a good answer for it. So a lot of like it started out, the first videos were just like me making fun of like people who are like ridiculous healthy, because you know what, sometimes I say some stuff that is kind of crazy. And my first couple times making those videos, I was with my best friend who is like a foodie and makes fun of me for like whenever I'm like, oh, I need to like maybe not eat so many carbs this week, like he'll make fun of me till like the end of the day, you know. So we were hanging out and we were just making clips, making fun of stuff I say, making stuff like influencers say. We were just like having a good time. And then after those blew up, I'm sorry, the crazy is genetic. I got it from my mom, and she says some of the most unhinged shit you've ever heard in your life. She says, my mom is one tough ass bitch. She is a boxing instructor, a yoga instructor, a CrossFitter, and an ER nurse.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Iron Woman, honestly, like seriously, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. While she works, sometimes she works from home when she's doing more like administrative stuff. She will like literally ride on her bike and type on like a little desk she made for herself. Like she is so hardcore. She is shredded, you guys. So shredded. So if you're gonna be that shredded, you gotta have like you gotta kind of be an almond mom. So
For
a
sure.
lot of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that I've come up with are like quotes from her. She's so funny. I have a lot of quotes from her, and like growing up, I would just get so irritated at the things she said. Now I'm my mother, you know how that goes. Now I say those things, I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, a little bit inspired by her, a little bit. I have other friends that say it. At this point, it's kind of like spun out of control. Now I'm just like coming up with things that like are out of this world, or I'm taking from comments where people say, oh yeah, this is what my mom did. And I'm like, perfect. That's happening in the next video.
Now, question now, what does your mom say to these? What does she think about these?
You know, she thinks they're hilarious. After I started like really blowing up for these, one time she like downloaded TikTok, sat down and like watched my entire page one night for like 3 hours. And it was actually crazy. My mom was like, wait, I didn't know you were like funny. Like you're really like, after years of me acting too, by the way, I was like, what? Did you think I suck until just now? She was like, you're really funny. These videos are like really, I like them. She was
Guess she was
shocked.
looking at the numbers.
She's like, everybody else thinks they're good. This is awesome. So she actually thinks they're hilarious. My family has a really good sense of humor, and I'm so lucky that she's not like offended by it. She thinks it's super funny. She will like share them with her friends at the gym and stuff. She'll be like, actually, Tyler has this many followers, and like, and these videos go so viral where she's playing me. She's awesome. She's awesome. It's so funny.
Dude, shout out to mom.
I know.
Let's talk about the future. You got anything planned for 2023? This is our first podcast of 2023. You got anything planned? Oh, we appreciate it. We appreciate it without a doubt. You got any plans for 2023?
As far as growing my account, I haven't set any goalposts. Like my last goal I had was to hit 100K, and it was like so challenging for me to not get frustrated at myself. So my coach told me not to set a vanity metric goal, so I haven't done that yet, but I would just love to legitimize myself a little bit more, like do more podcasts and stuff like this. So thank you for having me. This is awesome. Have more meaningful partnerships with brands that are maybe like, instead of them ordering one video, it's like a long-term, like I'm an official partner of this brand. Maybe using TikTok to get better experiences, growing my audience, coming up with different ways to monetize my platforms and grow. I would really love to get into YouTube and get into long form content. That would be awesome. I also thought about Twitch streaming. I think that would be super, super fun. So there are a lot of things I've thought of, but I haven't necessarily set anything in stone yet because I'm not this kind of person. I'm very type A, but for some reason with this, I like haven't made any decisions yet, and I'm a little bit going with the flow.
I feel that. Do you
Yeah.
have any other, any other hobbies outside of acting, outside of marketing, outside of, I guess you would call that work. So like, you got anything outside of that?
I am kind of a live to work kind of person. Like really, like TikTok became my job like so fast. Like it really is such a great side hustle. It's a job for me and I love it. I actually really love my day job. So that doesn't leave a ton of hours left in the day, but I like to work out a little bit. Actually, I fucking hate it, but I just say I like to do it. It's like a mental thing because I do
For
it and I
sure.
have
You
to,
gotta
you know?
say it so that it is
You
like,
gotta
yeah,
say I
it's-
love working out so that I do it the next day. Big fan of shopping, love really into collecting vintage, love that. But yeah, really like I'm pretty addicted to the grind right now. I hope that someday I get like maybe like some sort of like relaxing hobby, but I'm not a relaxer. I'm not much of a have funner. I just like to make content and work, and it's kind of depressing, but I feel like to be good at something, you really have to commit to it. So I really can't successfully do more than like 3 things at once. And so my 3 things are like being alive, also setting up this apartment, doing TikTok and doing work. So
any influences on any spectrum, in any media, in any form.
oh, of course. I like have always watched stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedians. I think that's been a huge influence for me. Some of my favorite actresses have influenced me. I think Kristen Wiig, Aubrey Plaza, like classic SNL actors are awesome. And then as far as like creators on the platform that I love, I think Mr. Beast is super inspirational because like every podcast clip you see of him, he's like, if it's not working, just work harder. And I'm super about that. I love Mr. Beast he's just super inspirational. The fact that he's been doing YouTube since he was like 13 and
Yeah.
he had like no subscribers for the first like 4 years. So for any content creator, that is such an inspirational story to just not give up and keep plugging along until it happens. There are a lot of great content creators. I think my friends that I've made through TikTok are super inspiring to me because it's so nice to have somebody to just like tap in with and hang out. My coach is London Lazarson. He has like 9 mil on TikTok and he is so inspirational and such a hustler. He's so brilliant and so fun. And my friend James Co is the same way. He does the street interviews and he's also like super brilliant, super motivational. He's a really hard worker and he's really figured out how to succeed on the platform. So yeah, those are definitely my biggest influences as a content creator.
Mhm. Anywho, when you're working with people, your coworkers at work, and even hanging with friends, and just in public, like, are you like looking for people and looking for their ticks, looking for certain traits of them that you just want to use in your TikTok? Is that something you're always on the hunt for?
I mean, recently, yes, because it's like really become like TikTok has really taken off for me just pretty recently. So yes, but like a lot of the time it's just like when I get super annoyed at a person and I'm like, this person is so annoying. The only option I have to channel this anger
Roast
is
them.
to make fun of them online. But like beat around the bush enough that like they don't think it's about them, because usually if somebody's being that annoying, they don't realize it. So it's usually not a problem.
So that, yeah, that reminds me of what you said about dog people. That was, that was real messed up. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a dog person myself, but you were talking about their self-awareness. That's messed up. Like,
Here's the thing. Every person in Denver has a 400-pound fucking dog, and they treat it better than if they had a newborn. And it is so annoying because these dogs just like come up to you, jump on you, and it's some random person's dog. And I just am like, I'm not a dog hater. I like dogs. I have such a cute dog back home, and I would do anything to have a Pomeranian, but these people are so unhinged with their dogs. It is making me, it is like such a pain point for me. You can't even bring this up. I'm gonna get double canceled because I better delete that video because I'm sure that made people like way dislike me. So I don't know.
So any goals in Denver? So like you moved from Utah to Denver, any like straight up goals, I guess, to just kind of like, I moved from Ohio to Texas about a year and a half ago, and I really had to
That's
just
amazing.
kind of put myself out there to try to get adjusted. Are you going to do anything in Denver to get yourself adjusted?
Oh, yes, I am doing everything I can to meet people because I don't know anyone here. So yeah, I'm really pushing myself to like join clubs, join communities. I'm really trying to get involved in the marketing environment here in Utah. It was super connected, and I felt like I had a really good pulse on what was happening in the Utah startup business entrepreneurship community here. Not so much. There's not really one. So I'm like, maybe I can just build one. So I'm trying to figure that out. Might be doing some events. So those are a couple of the things I'm doing to sort of get comfortable here.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And so what's one thing that through all this growth is something you look at and you just completely do not regret? You're like, this is something that I'm very proud I chose to do. That might have been maybe a risk or something that people thought might have been a bad decision. What was something that you took a risk and you're like, yes, that I'm very proud of that.
Risks I took that I'm proud of. Honestly, I feel like a lot of my content is a shot in the dark. Like a lot of it is. And there are a lot of times that I take a shot in the dark and it gets like 12 views. Even now I'll post something and it'll get low views. And even now I'm like, what the heck? I have enough followers that I should not be getting that many views. And I'll be so pissed at it. But at the end of the day, I think it's so worth it to make like a weird video, to make a creative video, to make like a random video that you're like, there's no way anybody relates to it. Because what I always say to my clients, to people who want to be influencers, it's always worth trying, because if it sucks, no one will see it. That's what's awesome about this thing. If it sucks, 100 people saw it. And those 100 people are just like randos on TikTok. That's awesome. But if it does well, everybody sees it. So right on, it did well. That's kind of how I try to think of it. And you can always delete your content. And so just as long as you're not posting anything like malicious or crazy, like you're so set. It's always worth it to take that risk on TikTok. Yeah, I don't really have any regrets for starting TikTok. It's been
That's great.
so awesome for my whole entire life. Like it has been such a fun outlet to meet people, to exercise creative juice, to get better at marketing. It is like, oh, it's so gross that I'm like writing a love letter to TikTok right now. So sad, but it's like a fantastic opportunity for anyone. It's like given so many people opportunities, entrepreneurs, talent, creatives, like anybody. Like you can really make something of yourself from TikTok because it's such like an equal opportunity platform, just as long as you create good content. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like it's a great place to experiment too. And then
Yeah.
on that subject, I know this thought has definitely run through your mind. What's your thoughts on like your digital footprint? Because you
Digital
have
footprint,
tons
yeah.
and tons and tons of content out now.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely worry about it. I'm lucky that I currently work in a job where everybody knows about my TikTok and everybody's okay with it. In fact, everybody is like, that's how we're getting clients. This is awesome. Never stop. Like that's literally like a pitch to our clients sometimes. But I do worry about it because what if I lose this job and have to go apply for like a serious corporate job and they see all the stuff I have out there? I'm like, so I do worry about it in some ways. In other ways, I feel like I've been raised to really like understand, like, I feel like I have a good sense of what my values are. Like, I really try not to be like extra crass on the internet. Like, I feel like a lot of my content is fairly mild compared to other people. I feel like I'm a nice person, and I feel like a lot of my content is like teasing and joking, but I don't feel like I'm ever doing anything like hate speech, anything
Nothing
like
malicious. Yeah.
miscontext. Like, it's never anything like that. Another thing is I'm like not posting myself like in inappropriate ways or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I really walk a fine line and I really understand what my morals are and I try to follow that. And at the end of the day, if a company doesn't want to hire me because of TikTok, I'm at this point, I'm fine with it because I've earned so much from TikTok and I've taken so much from TikTok. That's great. And also I'm confident about what I'm putting out there. And if a company doesn't like me because of my TikTok, like that's probably not a company I want to work with. They're probably like a little too serious for me.
Yeah.
But it is important for new content creators to understand that that's a risk they're taking. If you ever talk bad about your company, if you ever do anything bad on the internet, just be so careful because it could be there forever. So kids watching, I'm not saying.
Tyler, this would be a good softball for the kids. So you go from, theater kid, swig attendant, to marketer, TikToker, and everything like that, actor and all that. Any advice to the youth and anything you want to shout out, anything you want to plug before we end this interview?
Oh my goodness. For kids, I think my best advice is that it's always cringy until it's not. I know way too many people that are worried about embarrassing themselves, worried about looking cringy, and they just never do anything because they're too scared of embarrassing themselves. But like, I'm so serious. I think I've been embarrassing my whole entire life, but every single time, and like every time I look back on it, I cringe so hard, you guys. It's so embarrassing. I am so embarrassing. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I've garnered a lot of success from putting myself out there, from doing the uncomfortable thing. Like, oh, you guys, I wanted to be a model so bad when I was in high school. And I would do like these cringy test photo shoots, they call them, when you're just like trying like a weird concept and you get to do it, work with a photographer, like
A Zoolander look,
Yeah. Oh, yes, it was. Absolutely. And so I'd post these, and I'm sure there's no shot everybody from my high school was not making fun of me for these because they were like so beyond cringy. And I just was like, I gotta post it so everybody sees so I can get more work. So like most people wouldn't do that because that is so embarrassing, but it paid off in the end. It paid off because I got more jobs from that. It paid off. Or like TikTok is like really embarrassing when you only have like a couple followers and it's like your friends, and your friends will be like, is she trying to be an influencer? That's so cringe. That's what everybody's thought, but it's so,
That's how you have to start.
that's everybody starts somewhere, and all of a sudden everybody's in your DM saying, hey girl, how did you get so many brand deals? Hey girl, how'd you get so much free stuff? And it's people who bullied you in high school.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I think that's my best advice for people is like, go for what you want to do. Don't worry about what other people think, because like seriously, putting yourself out there always pays off. It's always embarrassing until it's not. Go for your dreams. Don't worry about what other people think. And yeah, work hard, be nice. That's my advice for the kids.
Tyler, thank you for joining us on the podcast. We hope to have you on later on. We can see how you've improved on TikTok. Any advice you got for anybody else? We really appreciate it. Thank you for giving your time for us today. Corey, you got anything else?
I think that's everything.
Hey, you guys, it's been
Awesome.
What's Out, you guys. Thank you, Tyler. If you want to
Thank
follow
you, Tyler, for coming on.
Tyler, can you
Thank you
give your
so
social
much.
media to everybody? Your TikTok, your Instagram,
Yeah.
your all of
Yeah.
the above.
It should be Tyler Bender with 2 R's, Tyler Bender. I think on TikTok there's a dot in between Tyler and Bender. You know how it is. So yeah, I'm mostly just on Instagram and TikTok. If you ever need anything, I would say the best way to reach out to me is through email. Those should be in my bio. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for asking me some really great questions. I really appreciate chatting with you guys. This was super fun.
Yo, it's been What's Out. Peace out, everybody.